Because realistically speaking, when we go to the Olympics, when we go to any games, we are known, Barbados roots for Jamaica if we don't have somebody, Trinidad roots for Barbados, etc. And I think, why don't we continue with that passion when it comes to our economy? Realistically, in a growing economy like China, there is no Caribbean economy that, to my knowledge, that produces vehicles, etc. We don't have made in Trinidad all the way in Europe. Why don't we come together and make an impact? Why don't we come together and be able to come, what's the word?
Become competitive.
Correct. Why don't we come together and join forces so that we can be seen on the international market? I think it is, I came along in school with the other Charles Morris, saying there's no such thing as a foreigner when it comes to Barbados versus Trinidad, etc. Yet still we embrace the Europeans when they come here as, tourists. When we have each other to deal with, we are foreigners. That is nonsense. I think we need to embrace, stop fighting each other, and realize that as an average, I'm not even talking about one economy, we cannot have a 4% growth on average throughout the Caribbean countries. Yet still we have China with an 8% growth rate. We have America, you understand? We need to come together so that we can make the impact.
To be competitive. No. Peter, in terms of what Ryan was saying about these mergers and acquisitions, I know that you are a fan of privatization. How do we deal with the excess worker? What are we going to do? How do we balance the social then with what's going on?
And that's really the reason why when we talk about reform and change, it has to be involved in the education system. It has to be involved, it has to involve the social sector, it has to involve all other sectors. Because this perception that you can just decide, okay, you're going to privatize without having the other components coming along with it is a huge mistake. And I'm a fan of privatization. I'm also a fan of regionalization. The problem is that both of those projects have something in common. They have to be sold. And they have to be sold to a population that will not immediately understand the benefits. Nakita understands. Ryan understands. I understand. But I think that the average man or woman in the street has to understand that integration is not about someone from another country coming in and taking something from you. It's about creating a market space that we can all enjoy. In the same way, privatization, again, seems to be a perception that somebody who's opposed to work will lose a job, without understanding that we have to have an educational system that helps to create the seed in people's mind. There should be entrepreneurship. I understand entrepreneurship because I've been forced to become an entrepreneur, and I'm happy about that. At the same time, I don't know that the person who loses their job sees that as an opportunity. Now, if we are going to pursue a program of privatization or rationalization, as is absolutely necessary, there also has to be a corresponding program, especially within the university West Indies, to train people who are becoming professionals to understand that a part of their program has to create wealth, has to be getting into entrepreneurship, has to be employing yourself. Not to say I'm going to come up with a degree and expect that I'm going to be employed. So it has to be a total reform, and I agree that yes, privatization and even the whole move towards these mergers and acquisitions that is scaring the daylights out of Barbadians. It has to be accompanied by a process where we understand that there are opportunities that we need to be able to identify and exploit.
Now, Nakita, in terms of some of the bottlenecks in the Barbadian economy, what would you identify those as?
Well, earlier I spoke of one where the household teaches the youth who to vote for.
Right.
That is absolute nonsense. We need to get back to being supportive of each other. I find we're not. We're very bashful, all against the youth, although they're doing nonsense. But we need the guidance. We need to have, as I will say again, and that is, for me, that is the most important, a government that listens and interacts, a people who feel empowered. I find Bajans, we have gone beyond, what's the word, resilient? That's what they say we are. I have a better word for that I would not use on camera. I don't think we need to practice resilience when something needs to be done. If it were me, if I had control, I would rubble and start all over again. However, as Peter just said, I understand, Marsha understands, Ryan understands, but we need to educate because this is stifling our country. Another thing is the taxes. You cannot tax an economy into growth. Taxes is not simultaneous with an economy growing. That is not the way it works. The people are scared. We need accountable people so that we can produce. Production, let me speak about that. Productivity, where we have people literally taking sick leave after vacation, people having 20 sick days plus vacation out. Because, and I don't think it's just a situation where you want to be, what's the word? You don't want to be a vibrant, for lack of a better word, but people are frustrated, they're scared, and that does not lend to productivity, which directly impacts on an economy. You cannot have a workforce not producing adequately and expect the economy to roll. So we have a lot of different things coming against the economy. People are uncomfortable not producing. The economy will suffer. We have taxes on people who are not producing, who cannot then spend. The economy is going to suffer. And we have the youth. And as it is, I do not blame them, because a lot of Barbadians have, wiped their hand against the young people. This body hard, there's this body as well. And we need to come together and make it work, because as is, we cannot leave this country in the hands of the youth. And that's a very bad thing.
Now, we're talking about all of this, and I'm very cognizant, Ryan, that we just were not included on the World Economic Forum's competitiveness rating. I'm guessing that it cannot all happen internally, that we have to have some kind of international relationship to rebalance this economy that we're talking about. How important is it for us to maintain those ratings and a relationship with the international community as we look to rebalance this economy?
Well, certainly as it relates to our level of competitiveness is very important, because anything that we're going to do in the country right now will require some level of financing, whether it's domestic or foreign finance. And so our competitiveness, our credit ratings, all of these things matter, whether we like it or not. So as it relates to our debt service, so if we want to, for example, build some new schools or something, it costs money. And so therefore we have to understand what is the relationship that, in terms of what we're doing internally to influence our ratings, our competitiveness, so that whatever we're going to do going forward, that we're doing it in as cost-effective a manner as possible, whilst building on some of the successes that we've had in the past. Now, this comes down essentially to a focus not just in the public sector but also in the private sector, to ensure, as Nakita mentioned, that there's a motivation for people to get up and want to go to work, that people want to get up and go and get some training to do better. And that has to start, it's not a government responsibility, it's everybody's responsibility. But certainly I think where there are instances where there is a lack of leadership, because you can't encourage people to do better.
I don't want to be rude, but excuse me a minute. Also motivation comes in as simple as saying, good job. Good job, Ryan. You were here at 7 o'clock when you could have left at 5. And I find that that's something that we don't seem to be proud of in Barbados. We find it so hard as bosses to say, good job. I appreciate it. I may not be able to have $600 for that pay, but I appreciate it. We don't do that. Continue.
Sure. No worries. No, it's a very good point, because leadership matters, and the way that you communicate, and with effective leadership, there will be communication. And so I think that once you set this tone for what needs to be done, and the truth is, as Peter said, there are lots of tough decisions that will have to be taken, but you have to communicate. You have to want to communicate with people, and want to bring people along with you, so that people know that it's going to be a tough journey. But with every step, you can see progress, and you are seeing. Once you see progress, things start. That creates its own momentum, and once you have momentum, you can achieve a whole lot in a short space of time. And so, maintaining and the thing is, maintaining those ratings means, or at least providing the information so that you can see progress year after year after year in key areas. Because it's not just about the economy, because obviously the economy is what's going to pay for a lot of the social intervention and stuff that we want to the nice things that we want to see happen. But without a fairly vibrant economy, which will be demonstrated in some of the metrics in these indices, then you're not going to necessarily see the kind of social cohesion that you would want. So if you didn't have to worry about the economy, just focus on the social stuff, then you'll be in a good place then to start to tackle some
Yes,
of the
understood.
antisocial behavior that we are talking about. But because you're basically fighting on two
We're
fronts,
doing both.
not just both, but on several fronts, and therein lies your inherent problem.
My panel, as having been very good workers, I've appreciated this, I've enjoyed it. I want to give you this space now to give us your parting shots. Peter, Nakita, Ryan, what do Barbadians need to understand? What is the real takeaway from these two messages? How do we move this country forward?
Right. Well, I mean, I didn't speak much to regional integration, so certainly in my closing comments, I can say that I think that Renata has hit another home run in terms of stressing the importance of the region and the extent to which the region can be an emancipation for us. I've always believed this. I've always believed that our markets are simply too small and that islands individually we are not valued. Regional integration deals with that problem. And I think it is good that he has again reminded us that in addition to the whole privatization program, there is another way that we can look to emancipate ourselves economically, and that he's provided the solution. So I would say hats off to him in terms of having done that. Thank you for having me on the panel. Appreciate it.
Well, to add to what he's saying, I reiterate, listen, we have a government, from my perspective, who's believing in running everything on their own. We always say, Clyde Masco's the best, or Natho's the best. Involve everyone. Have everybody put their 2 cents in on how we can become a better Barbados. Because the problem in not doing that is that when you don't listen, people still suffer. It's no situation where when you don't listen to me, I stop being Barbadian. That's not the way it works. Barbadians need, you said what Barbadians can do to understand. Understanding is secondary to learning. You learn first and then you understand. I find we are not educated people when it comes to politics, what's going on around us. We pretty much just hear in the media, this is expected to happen, this is going to happen. 3,000 people are going to go home, and we are resilient. We need to learn first that we have a say and go from there. Where the regional integration goes, I think I've already made my stance on that pretty clear. That, as he said, as I said earlier, as Ryan said, the impact needs to be made. We will never benefit greatly if the impact is not made. However, we cannot make the impact alone. We need to do it together. Again, they just need to educate themselves. Just educate themselves. We tend to think that once it's foreign, it is bad. No, that is a sad, sad way of thinking that change can't come with positive. And I assure you that from where I sit, this would be a positive change.
All right. I think fundamentally it comes down to management and leadership. Yeah. Whether it's at the community level, within the education system, in government, in politics, wherever you look, it comes down to leadership and management. And once you get those two things right and provide the necessary motivational tools for people to want to engage, which means, again, that through better leadership, better management, you're open to people coming to you and you're making adjustments, because it provides a forum basically for people to monitor and evaluate their performance. And because you want to do better, then you encourage people to come and say, okay, this is not right. I think this is how we can adjust this. And once your management style and your leadership style is consistent with that approach, then you can achieve anything. And so I think that my parting shot is that for Barbadians who will be listening, for those out in the region, that we have to keep pushing our leaders, not just politicians, leaders, to strive to do better and keep the pressure on. I think that's we as the ordinary man and woman in the street, we have to want to do better and push people to do better. I think that's it.
We definitely want to do better and to push. That's why we continue to bring you these series from Refocusing Barbados. Thank you very much for having joined me in the panel, economist Ryan Straughm, political scientist Peter Wickham, and economics student Nakita Griffith. Until again, do enjoy and bye-bye.